Well, hi everybody. I'm here with my friend and mentor Lelah. She's been such a amazing person in my life and I'm really excited to talk with you today. I feel like every time I talk to you, genuinely my heart feels a little fuller and my mind feels a little wiser. So I'm excited for people to be able to kind of sit in on that.
Nice. And same. Every time I talk to you, I feel, yeah, it's nice. It's a good connection, and I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
How would you introduce the Leela you are in this moment? Not historically, but right now.
I'm 53. I'll be 54 in October, and I'm really excited about becoming older, right? Like I'm into it, you know? I'm an artist by trade, so I'm a henna artist as well as a jeweler. And I also run my business and my husband and our business partner's business, which is the dive shop. So I have a lot of hats and live here in Puerto Rico. So I live in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, and just have a really beautiful life that I've cultivated through travel, which is such a thing that we connect on, and big choices and big leaps. And those leaps have brought me to this person that I am. And so, yeah, I'm really grateful to be where I am, really happy to be where I am. Yeah, so I'm here. I'm a mom of a 20 year old man, Rowan, who you had on the show with the
The
special
best.
uh,
Yeah.
your travel buddy. So yeah, I'm Rowan's mom and married to my very best friend, and I'm Leela.
I love you, Leela.
Oh.
Yeah. I feel like your life has been very outside the blueprint, which is one reason I love talking to you because I feel like you're a person that made me realize like it's okay to not live inside the blueprint.
Yeah.
What do you feel like originally pulled you to a life that's a little unconventional?
Yeah, so I grew up in a very kind of conventional mainstream place. I grew up in South Georgia, kind of, quote, normal life. But I sort of always felt like a discontentment there. So pretty early on, I left. I went to the most exotic, faraway place I could think of, which was Arizona, and ended up going to college in Arizona. I started making these big leaps, these big kind of outside of the box choices. It just resonated. So I'm not sure if I like had whatever the constitution is that had me make these choices in the very beginning. I think what happened was I just sort of started making these choices and being like, no, this is actually great, like these outside of the box thinking. When I started traveling and moving and making my sort of big leaps in life, it had a lot to do with seeking joy. I didn't center money necessarily. I had this understanding that money would come. I didn't center like getting the house or that kind of mainstream idea of life that I had been fed for so long. I centered exploration and travel. I went to Arizona and it was just gorgeous. It blew my mind. I'd never seen anything like it. And then I met people that expanded my consciousness in what you can do in life. I met a jeweler, actually. I was roommates with a jeweler, and that's how she made her living. And she just blew my mind. I'd never heard anybody making a living with jewelry before, and she taught me my very first basic jewelry skills, a lot like what I taught you, like this is how you make a jump ring, and this is how and then continue to meet people, because as you expand and, like as you meet people, that like adventure begets adventure, expansion begets expansion. So yeah, I think that's kind of what brought me to that is I started and I resonated with it. And then I continued. I was in college and then I moved into a van and traveled full time, did van life, like 90s version of van life, not the Instagram version necessarily, but there was no Instagram. There was no hashtag. I just lived in a Volkswagen van and traveled and
Amazing.
yeah. So yeah, it opened me up.
What do you feel like that first experience in Arizona gave you internally that just resonated with you so much?
Like when I think back to those times, a lot of my mind's eye sees like the greatness of Arizona. I grew up in South Georgia where, it's a lot of peanut fields and a lot of like not epic, right? Not it's beautiful. There's beautiful parts of everywhere. Everywhere you can find beauty, but and so I remember just like being absolutely cracked open by how epic Arizona was, the sunsets, the vastness, the huge, the buttes and it was just so that was big for me, just seeing something so very different and so very breathtaking. And then meeting people who were West Coast people and, people that in the beginning didn't necessarily talk like me, but felt like me. You know what I mean? Like, and I all of a sudden was like, oh my gosh, I found my people. So yeah, I think that was like the biggest captivation. And I was about 19 when I left home, 20-ish, almost 20. I had gone to the community college in my hometown. So as soon as I graduated, I left. Like literally 2 days after I did my last class, my car was packed and I was gone. So I was just so ready. I was so ready, to have an adventure. I didn't stop. Yeah.
When did you start living in a van? While you were still in Arizona, or did you go back home?
Yeah, I was still in Arizona. I was in college and I was working for a potter. I was in school for art. So I was working for a potter and somewhere along the way, I was riding my bike most places and like bicycle because it's flat and it's close. The U is all right there. My mom sold my piano, my home piano, like the piano that I had gotten when I was a kid and I learned on and stuff. And it was about $3,000, which was a lot of money back then. And I remember her saying, this is the kind of money, like this is a chunk that you don't always get big chunks like this. So what are you going to do with it? Like use this big chunk for something good?
Yeah.
And I started thinking about a van, I think really soon after I found the van. It was a $3,000 van. It was a 1970 Westfalia, Volkswagen Westfalia. It was red. She was beautiful. So I was driving her around when I was in school still, and I would sleep at my friend who's a potter who I worked for. We did a lot of our firings. We did a lot of our work at night because it's Tucson. It's super hot. We would fire at night. So I would sleep, even though I lived not too far away, I'd sleep just outside of his studio and then wake up at like midnight and go fire with him, go work. So it served its purpose there. And then I started traveling. So I started traveling by the time I was 22. I think I was on the road, full-time traveling.
So
Yeah, it really was. I am so grateful for the choices that I've made in my life. I tell people, that was the best way to be 20s and 30s. I traveled and mainly did festivals, big festivals. But there was some other travel in there too, and I mean, it was just such an epic way to be 20s, to be young, right? Like
yeah.
just experiencing. Yeah.
Especially back then, like I know you didn't have social media and stuff.
You didn't have a phone. I didn't have a phone. There was no, I had a Rand McNally map, which is like this big atlas. It was like, I always had it right by my door, and I would make notes in it. Like, so like if I found a really good co-op that had good food, or if I found a really great restaurant or a great place to park, a great place to camp, I'd make a note on the map. I traveled for years with no phone at all. Like
Do
my
you
poor
still
mom.
have your map?
No, it got wet. It got ruined.
Does.
I mean, that was well over 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago, this one. And I think I'm sure I had more than one. Like, I think I had two Rand McNally's. I'm sure I updated at some point. And then GPS, then phones started happening and then you don't really need it anymore. But it
Yeah.
would be so cool if I had that.
Oh, cool. When I was road tripping, I didn't have service most of the time.
Yeah.
And I just so nice. Like I just felt so separated from the world. Like I just not separated from the world, but just like I don't know, I was just like myself in the moment in the
Yeah.
experience. And I just
Yeah.
feel like I was talking to a girl yesterday and she was like we're animals. We weren't meant to be on phones all day. What are we doing?
Yeah, I do think that our pendulum has swung real far into being in this device, you know? And I think I do feel grateful that I've had a lot of my life where I didn't have that because I'm just as, susceptible as anyone. I love the scroll too, but like yeah, and especially traveling. When I first started, I think I've told you this. When I first started traveling, I never took an interstate. I made a commitment to myself to only take small roads.
Mhm.
When I very first left home to go from Georgia to Arizona, I also didn't take interstates and I didn't make a plan. I just went west. If the sun was setting, that's where I was going. If the sign said west, I was going west. It was the craziest route, I am sure. I just, I was just like, I don't know, I'll figure out this.
Why did
But
you
when I,
decide to do it that way?
why?
Yeah, with no interstates.
The adventure. Once I started traveling, like from that initial trip, I knew how great it was, right? So I would, when you're on the interstate, it's just the big exits and you have all the signage that says, you've got your Denny's and you got your whatever, back in the day. And I just wanted to be able to stop. And it's so much slower and so much, you see a mom and pop cafe and you stop there and you have great conversations. I had so many great conversations with people, because and you feel it out, as opposed to like now you look it up and like, what do I want? I want Thai food. No, I want Italian. And there it's when you're traveling all these back roads without the GPS, it's like, that one looks pretty good. Like those people look nice. I think I'll go there. And then you have these conversations and you learn that we are all the same, like even if they don't look alike or talk alike or whatever, it's a great connector, you know? Yeah.
It's that thing of seeing all the in between too.
You said that one time, and I was like, "That is perfect. That is the perfect way to say." Oh, on your road trip, on your podcast when you talked about the road trip, the in betweens, exactly. I used to say everything's better when it goes by slow, mainly because my Volkswagen only went slow, but everything's better when it goes by slow. Like yeah, you get to just kind of stop, and oh, there's a really cool tree and a really cool lake, and I still have rocks that I collected from those initial trips from a tree. I went to this one, I don't even remember where I was. It was probably like Minnesota or something. But there was this beautiful tree, like picturesque, a lake, and I went to go write in my journal under it, and it was covered, the hill was covered in these tiny pink rocks. I mean, pink.
Mhm.
I was like, dude, that's the best. I still have them. I still have those. I have several rocks from my travels. There's a rock thing, but yeah.
One time you said that to me, things are better when they go by slow. And
Yeah.
because I think I had a moment when I was in Thailand and I started driving a scooter and I stopped walking. And it's like enjoying my travels, I think, significantly less. And I realized it was because I wasn't walking anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something that whenever I get to a new place, I go and I walk and I just see what it's like. But when you're driving from destination to destination,
Yeah.
I mean, or you were driving, but you're like seeing the things along the way. So you just have
Yeah.
yes, and you're like, hey, I'm going here. That anything.
Yeah. And I think that's that saying when I started saying that was actually when I was walking everywhere, like I walked a lot. I still do. Well, not so much here in Puerto Rico, but I really love to walk. Yeah, it's kind of tough here sometimes, but I love it when I get to go places and I can just walk someplace. But yeah, when you're walking or riding your bike, or in a car that goes kind of slow and you're not just zooming on the interstate where
Yeah.
you just have to jump off when you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And giving yourself the freedom to stop and look at things, even if you are driving. Because, if you're like, I need to get here by this time, and, going on road trips with my parents, it was always like that. Like, if we had to stop to use the toilet, it was like this huge thing. And
Yeah.
when I went road
Same.
tripping with my friends, it was like we'd stop at a rest stop and practice our line dancing and have a snack and chat. And
Yeah.
it was just, yeah, it was nice. We ended up in a lot of random little towns.
Yeah, that's the best, isn't it? Like that's the adventure. And that was very much what I've always been after. I've always been after the adventure. I have put an enormous amount of value on adventure, in my life. Or I've told several people, I probably have said this to you, when you have the opportunity to make a choice, choose the story, like, because it's true when you're my age or when it's just really fun to have, as long as it's a safe story, choose the story, choose the cool thing, Yeah, and right, you get the greatest stories from those little tiny adventures, from that spaciousness of just being like, "Oh, look, I'm gonna go there."
Yeah, I think sometimes we get so focused on the big picture. And I mean, it's not bad to have goals and work towards things, but for example, someone could be like, when I am this old, I want to be making this amount of money and be a doctor. And maybe there's nothing wrong with that for that person. But I think sometimes we can get so wrapped up in it and our life just becomes this hustle to get to the end goal. But then even when you reach the goal, there's a new one and you have to reach that one. And sometimes people just live life that way and they miss out on the stories and adventure because
Yeah.
I think the truth is we don't we have no idea when this is going to end for us. And so you could spend your whole life stressed out and hustling and or you can
Striving. You can then spend your whole life just striving for the thing, and
yeah, just striving for the
yeah.
thing and never really experiencing what the world has to offer.
Yeah.
And what you have to
Yeah.
offer yourself, I think, too.
I do think, right. I think, success looks different for everyone. I've said this many, many times. Like, both of my brothers have they put a lot of value on money. And they're very successful in their money. And I'm proud of them for that, but I put my success in strong relationship. I'm married to my very best friend. We've been together for 28 years. We'll be married for 25 in March. So coming up on our 25th wedding anniversary, we're still just as best friendy as ever, had incredible adventures. So I put a lot of value on experiences and expansion and connection and joy. I wanted joy in my home. I grew up without a lot of joy in my home. My home was kind of the opposite of joy. So I wanted that. And I'm wildly successful. I'm wildly successful at what I wanted. And for me, I've always just held the understanding that money comes, and it does. Not without hustle, not without do I have to work. I do things. I build businesses or whatever. For me, the goal wasn't the money. The goal was the bigger experience, and it worked out great for me. And I do think that I do think it's undervalued in today's society. I think that we get kind of mono focused on money, or on a goal to strive for. And I think that it can kind of rob us of adventure or of expansion. I mean, I keep using the word, but it really is what it is. And it's funny, I just said this to someone today in my shop, because I get all these people in my shop, and we talking about traveling early. And if you have opportunities to travel and to have adventures, not necessary, you don't have to make a lifestyle out of it. You can, and it's totally doable, right? Like, we've done it. But just traveling, because when you take opportunities to expand your understanding of what's possible, of, other cultures, or you meet people and they're like, "Oh yeah, I do this." And you're like, "I didn't even know that existed, that thing." When you do that early, it informs the rest of your life. So then when you're older and you're building your life in maybe a different direction or whatever, you've got all of this fuel from something besides just the stuff you grew up with, you know? Like, so ideas about what's possible, or you have the ability to call on these experiences to then help you in your life. And I think that's incredibly valuable. For me, it has been. And the different businesses that I've built, the places that I've gone, my ability to just say, "This is what I'm going to do. We're going to move to Puerto Rico and we're going to build a business." We really didn't have much of a plan beyond knowing that we can do what we can do. We know what it feels like to pack up and move to a place. We know what it feels like to build a business. We know what we can do and what's marketable, and we did it. And we've done really, really well. We own a dive shop in Aguadilla. I own a boutique on the beach in Rincon, which is just outside of Aguadilla. Part of, besides the skill sets that we have for these things, being divers, being artists, part of the reason that we were able to was because we have the understanding that we can, because we did it in little chunks then, right? So it's a good thing to just know that that exists, to know that it's possible and that,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I think I feel that already. Like,
yeah,
I feel like right now I'm in Australia. This is so different than anything I've done. Like, never lived in a city before. I've never had to get an apartment before. I don't know. It's just new, but I feel like even this, which is so different from the backpacking that I've been doing the last couple of months, yeah, I just feel capable of life. Like, I feel like I'm well equipped to
yeah,
live life and build a life that I am happy in.
yeah.
To take care of myself. Yeah, I can see the possibilities now and more than I had before. It's been such a blessing
That's awesome.
that way.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's easy to understand that you don't have to settle when you've seen a ton of options.
Right.
Right? So there's that. Like you realize that, I can, okay, actually this doesn't resonate. You start to learn when you travel too. You start to learn or start to trust your instincts. There's a thing where you start to like understand that there's a lot that you could do. And then yeah, the more you do those things, the more you do something different, the more capable you feel, for sure. Like that's huge.
Yeah.
That's so I have my quote that I talk about a lot. Eleanor Roosevelt, one of my very favorite quotes. It was on my van door, inside of my van door, traveling for years and years. And the quote is, do something that scares you every day. Do something every day that scares you. Do something that scares you every day. It's the kind of thing where you realize that if you do these things, if you leap over a fear line in little steps or big steps, it could be little, it could be walking into a new cafe where you don't know anyone. It could be being vulnerable to somebody. It could be, trying to speak a new language and feeling kind of funny about it, right? By doing those little things and then big things too, but every day you get used to doing things that make you feel slightly uncomfortable. And then if you continue to do that, the big things aren't so scary because you've exercised your courage muscle, right? Like,
Right.
so as you're traveling around the world and doing these things that are pretty can be really intimidating, and you're exercising your courage muscle. You're getting stronger and stepping over that fear line, all the things that are scary becomes less and less. And that is, I mean, what a powerful thing that is. You learn to trust yourself too. So it's powerful. You become empowered. It really is such a recipe for the best thing ever,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
I know because the comfort zone is so expansive.
Yeah.
I think we get scared to leave our comfort zone. What's important to understand is that your comfort zone doesn't just stay the same size. Like it's not either you're in your comfort zone or you're out of your comfort zone because your comfort zone will grow and grow and grow. And
Yeah.
change too, maybe
That's a great way.
traveling that became so
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Living somewhere and staying is a little bit more uncomfortable for me than it used to be.
Right.
Just yeah, putting yourself in those situations and then you learn too that you're capable of it. Like I think that for me even leaving my comfort zone in general is more comfortable now because I understand that often those experiences of leaving my comfort zone gives me really great experience and opportunity and stories, which is something I might not have understood before if I never left my comfort zone.
Right, right. Oh, absolutely. Like, yeah. I love that. I love that visual. Your comfort zone expands. That's it. Like we have a card someone gave us at some point or maybe I even bought it for Rowan and put it in my mirror. But anyway, it says life begins at the end of your comfort zone, right?
Yes, that's
And
my
that
favorite
is
quote.
isn't it good? Right, exactly. And yeah, when you realize that your comfort zone expands, when you realize that so life begins outside of your comfort zone, well, if you're continually expanding that comfort zone, what a beautiful thing to do, what a beautiful thing to have.
Mhm.
Like to be able to, your experiences be so much bigger. Yeah, so much more expanded. Yeah. I
Yeah,
love that. Love that
such a
visual.
great gift to give to yourself too. Doing the
Yeah.
hard thing, but getting the payout. I want to ask you about something because I feel like you mentioned this to me one time, and I think about it often for some reason, but we never really
Yeah.
got it. Did you live in a nudist colony?
I did.
Okay.
Um, I didn't live in the nudist colony. I traveled and would stay in there's a couple different, there's several that I've been to. Communities that are clothing optional, basically, is what they are. So there were several. One was in New Mexico, and we would just go and visit and winter there. So it was a clothing optional hot springs place in New Mexico. And yeah, I mean, it was great. Oh, there's a great story. Do you want that story?
I do,
So there's
yeah.
a great, it's kind of a funny story. A little. So when I first started traveling, right? Like I think it was my first winter by myself away from college, you know? So I was all by myself with my dog Mija in my van, in my Volkswagen van, whose name was Cecilia. And I had never, I was 22 maybe, and I was living in this. I had found this hot spring in New Mexico, Silver City area of New Mexico, beautiful big hot spring,
Mhm.
and I made camp there, and I stayed there for like almost 3 months. So through Thanksgiving, through Christmas, and there were people in and out, kind of community, but this isn't the other communities I'm talking about. But this is a funny story. So it's my first real time alone. I felt very safe there, but still camping, and I'm in this hot spring, in the river where you can like. I had my van parked. It was the most perfect camp spot. My van would open up, gorgeous river, beautiful New Mexico sky and butte, and this big the San Francisco River went straight through in New Mexico. And this hot spring was there. So I made this hot spring. You could stack up rocks to make it hotter. And if it got too hot, you'd take a few rocks out. The cold water would come through, it'd regulate, right?
That's
So I'm like, yeah, it was awesome. It was like the perfect camp spot. And this is the 90s. So now I don't even know if it exists. Like now I'm sure somebody's put a condo there or something. I'm sitting there and people were coming in and out. I'd met people or whatever. And I'm sitting in the hot spring, and this guy walks up, and it was all clothing optional always. I was completely nude in the hot spring because that's how you take a hot spring. But this older man was like well in his 80s, and he was just kind of an old mountain man, and he came walking up completely nude. So I'm like in the river and he's walking up and I'm like, wow. Like there's this naked man, naked old guy walking up to me. And he was great. We ended up talking and hanging out and becoming friendly, like just, like he was helping me and whatever, super chill, super cool. Like, because people who go to like intentional communities or communities that are like clothing optional or whatever, it's rarely schmarmy. It's not about schmarm, right? It's just clothing optional. It's European or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it was the best winter ever. But that was probably the first time I'd ever like seen some random guy naked, like walking out. Oh,
There you
it was awesome.
go.
Yeah. But yeah, so I did several. I mean, that was another like expansion thing, right? Like doing things that I would have never thought I would have done when I was 15 or whatever, things that may have felt odd. And then you experience them and you're like, actually, that's so chill. Like, it's so not a thing at all. It's just body, Like,
Yeah.
there's a ton of those, a ton of those
Right,
experiences.
so many. Endless. Yeah, I
Yeah.
went to, and the first time I went to a nudist beach, I think, was in Mexico.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, I don't know about this. And then I got there and everyone's like naked and swimming in the water. And I was like, oh, wait, this is kind of cool. And like you're seeing every different kind of body and no one's like worried about how they're looking. They're all just like enjoying the nature, enjoying the ocean. And I thought that was a really cool experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had several experiences since then that have helped me in that way. Like, Korean spas are some of the best. And yeah, every type of body, women with double mastectomies, women who are very large, women who are very thin, big boobs, little boobs, like all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes you realize that there's so many ways to be beautiful. I mean, there just are, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good for perspective.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Is there anything you feel like, I mean, I'm sure there will be things, but what do you feel like you understand now at 53 that you just didn't understand maybe at 23, my age? It's kind of a big question.
It is, but it is. It's a big question. It's funny. The first thing that pops into my head is sort of clichéic, like the don't sweat the small stuff cliche, right?
Mhm.
But I think the biggest thing for me, my personal, is like learning to trust myself. And I think part of my ability to learn to trust myself has come from like detaching from the mainstream expectations and listening to myself, doing things where I've had to listen to myself. I put myself in situations where I mean, I've always been a salmon. I've always gone upstream. I've always been the type of person that, people are like, really? You're doing that? Like traveling all by myself as a woman for years. Before I met Damien, I think I was on the road for 7 years before I met my husband. And then we traveled for another like 6 years, 6 or 7 years. So yeah, like having that opportunity, that ability to trust myself is so important, has been just really, yeah, really big in me learning to trust myself, right? And me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think learning to trust myself is probably the thing that I've landed in, knowing I can do things, knowing I can do hard things.
And I feel like it's really a really, really good thing to be able to trust yourself because you can, of course, lean on the people around you, but I don't know, sometimes you lose people. And sometimes, people aren't as reliable as you imagined they were. And yeah, I'm really grateful to have a relationship with myself where I can trust myself because I know no matter what happens in my external world, I always have myself and I have my own back.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I love that, like relationship with yourself. Exactly. Like, I think we forget how important that is. And when you have a good relationship with yourself, it's easier might not be the right word. You become better at being discerning in other relationships.
Right.
Right? Like you
Yeah.
know yourself, you know your boundaries, you know your limits. I've become very well boundaried. I'm good at saying, yeah, no, or whatever, and so much of that is because I've spent a lot of time cultivating a relationship with myself, like learning to trust myself, learning to challenge myself and rely on myself. And I'm in a strong, committed relationship. It's not like I'm living life by myself, but I have a relationship with myself. That's such a great way to put it, that is apart from the relationship of the people, my people.
Right.
And I think that it's so good to have discernment, and I think it's easier to cultivate it when you know yourself. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's easier to have healthy relationships. Maybe not easier, but I feel like me personally, any relationship that I do have now almost feels a little bit healthier. Like I feel more capable of having a healthy relationship because in the past, my picture of a relationship was a little bit more codependent, I think, and reliant on each other. Whereas now I have the ability to give love to people and to be compassionate and kind and connected to people while still having my independence and while still keeping that relationship with myself and prioritizing the relationship with myself in
Yeah.
addition to with other people.
Yeah, when you have a strong relationship with yourself, it's harder to give yourself away to situations that don't value it. You know what I mean? Like or value you, right? Like
Right.
it's easier to be like, nah, this and not that, like sometimes you do give yourself away or sometimes like but yeah, that codependency. Like I think that's true. I think codependency arises when you don't really have that strength within like your own good relationship. So yeah, yeah, that's true.
Something I've always admired about you in, like you said, in your boundary setting, because I feel
Yeah.
like you're one of the kindest, most compassionate and connected people I know, but you also don't put up with any bullshit.
Right.
You have
It's true. I don't know
that
how
you
I did it.
stick to them is something I really admire because sometimes I have a hard time. I'm very like lenient, I think. So sometimes I'll be like, well, maybe they didn't mean it that way, or maybe it's okay, or maybe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know how I became that way necessarily, except maybe, but yeah, I am. I'm very good at boundaries, but I'm also incredibly kind at them. Like I'm good with people. I have kindness about me, but I'm very clear. Like, and yes, I cultivated that. I didn't always have that. I used to give myself away all the time. I used to be such a people pleaser and just I could be trampled on so easily. And I think partly it comes from that's yet another thing of do something every day that scares you. The more you say, no, that, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Or, yeah, this is not something I'm willing to do or whatever. It doesn't even have to be a no, but like the more you do that, the more you activate that, the less scary it is. Right. And then the less scary it is, the easier it is to do. And you learn how to do it. You learn how to put up boundaries, but not be a jerk about it. It's not scary. I think often when we are putting up boundaries, when we do it in a way that's intense, it's because we're activated, right? It's upset us.
Right.
But if you're comfortable in it, it doesn't upset you. It is what it is, Yeah. So yeah, but it's true. I noticed that about myself, like that I'm very well boundaried, but I'm not a jerk about it. If I have to be, I can be. I'm not afraid to be a jerk if I need to be. Like,
Yeah.
but
Another
I
thing.
usually don't have to be,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious about something when going back to when you lived in a van, when you did like costuming for the Renaissance festivals and you sold jewelry, but you didn't have you didn't have a phone or anything. How did you find those opportunities?
So I first, like big Renaissance festivals and stuff like that, it's a whole community of people. So the very beginning was me being a nanny for the artist, the ceramicist, the potter that I worked for in Tucson. So I was his nanny, and his good friends and his kids' good friends were glass blowers. And so I took care of the three kids total. So I did that. And then once you're kind of in the scene, then, oh, this person needs a helper, or this person, whatever. So you just sort of like find jobs. I managed a flute booth. I would make like bamboo flutes, and I didn't make the flutes. That was the master flute maker, but I'd make like the little kind of toy flutes and shakers and stuff. I
Yeah.
taught people to play flute, bamboo flute. I did that. I sold, didn't make them, sold hair sticks. So many. Oh, I did waxed hands in the very beginning, which is almost like it's a novelty thing, but like, it's the very first job I had besides being a nanny, is the very first job I had like on the road, wax hands. It's like I don't know. It's like any other little
It's
silly
like
thing.
hands made out of wax.
Yeah, you dip your hand in a vat of wax over and over like a candle, and then pull it off and you have this hand. Yeah.
People were
Silly.
using their own hands to make wax hands, or you were
Uh-huh.
stealing like your hands.
No, people did their own hands, and they'd walk around and you'd walk in a circle and dip it like you dip candles. And, and so me at 20 something, I can remember, I still know the guy that owned it. We're still connected through social media, but I remember being like, dude, this is a racket. Like, this is like the profit margin here is ridiculous. People are lined up out of the streets. Like, I was the art department, so I like sprayed it with glitter and dipped it in colored wax, and but I can remember being like, you can make money doing this, like real money. And I didn't, I can remember at one point thinking, oh, maybe I'll get a waxed hand booth, like the thing with the Renaissance festivals specifically it's full of artists. It's full of incredible artists. Like, it's full of people who have honed their craft, and they're juried in. So you have to be really, really good at what you do. Generally, there's some insanely talented people who do these festivals. So I was surrounded by really talented, outside of the box thinkers, really talented, like, and we had a lot of space and time to talk and to philosophize and to share information. And we would have like little groups of, do you want to learn how to play guitar? You want to learn how to, I play guitar, I play the drums. We would have big drum circles. I play piano, I play flute. I learned piano at home, but everything else I pretty much learned on the road. Henna, jewelry, glass blowing. I assisted the glass blower for a little bit, and that was so cool. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I was really blessed to have this community of people that I had just on tap, and incredible singers and musicians and, actors and just different people and tons of time to hang out with them and talk about stuff. So, mad expansion, big expansion, like
Yeah.
ideas and philosophies and, yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Expanding in your skill set and expanding in your philosophies in your mind and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what a
It was very, yeah. It's a really rich time for sure.
have you always been a really creative person, or do you feel like something that was cultivated a little later in your life?
I think I was always creative. Yeah, I loved art as a kid. I always wanted to be an artist. I drew a lot. It wasn't My mom always told me, oh, you're such a great artist or whatever. She bought me the piano. Like, I started playing piano and I was really good at it. I played by ear and took classes and stuff, but my mom was like the only person that cultivated it. So the other people in my family didn't, kind of like definitely diminished it. So I don't think I rooted into my creativity until I got away from my family of origin.
Yeah.
Um, that was when I would felt safe to actually be creative and I met an enormous amount of creative people. Like I worked for a potter. I was in the art school, so I lived with a jeweler. My very best friend at that point, and he's still one of my closest friends, is an incredible artist. He's Rowan's godfather, a guy named Eric, my brother Eric. He's not my biological brother, but I just call him my brother. But he's an incredible artist, and he was the best. Like he's brilliant and he's well traveled, he's world traveled, and he's about 13 years older than me. So he just exposed me to so many different amazing things and concepts and poets and artists and music and like, yeah. And we had a lot of space for that. When you travel, you generally have a lot of space. And so you fill the space with cool stuff often.
Yeah. And just
So,
trying new things, I think, and experiment.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you line dancing.
Yeah.
You have space to just like, hey, you want to try this thing? You want to learn how to do a headstand? Like, yeah, yeah. And in community, we live in boxes with doors and gates that are just at the edge of our yards. And often people they don't really breach those barriers much. And when you live in community and when you're traveling, especially when you're traveling solo or just with one other person, you're almost forced to connect with people. And,
Yeah.
and that usually is cool. That's usually
It's
some good stuff in that.
That's why I'm such an advocate for staying in hostels. Like, I know it's not ideal for everybody, but it's like you're sleeping right now, I'm in a room with like six girls, which some people might be like, oh, you're sharing a room with six girls. But like last night, I had amazing conversations with them. And like, yeah, it's
Right.
just, yeah, you're living within community.
Yeah,
That's really cool. Yeah.
it's amazing. I know. It's true. Like, yeah, sometimes it can be uncomfortable. There can be things, right? Like, or it's not conventional. And we get that's that thing of like expansion. Oh, you can do that, like these ideas of, well, you're supposed to live in a house and you're supposed to have the door and you're supposed to have the gate at the perimeter and you're supposed to only see each other when you leave for work and say hello. And I mean, that's kind of what we're told. That's what we're fed. But when you do it differently, you realize that no, man, I get a lot of incredible life information when I do it differently, whatever it is, having six roommates or, having this wells.
And I think we tend to separate ourselves from nature. Like we tend to be like, this is the human world and that's the nature world. So, we go out into nature, we go see nature, we go sit in nature. But we forget that we are nature and we were
Yes.
made to be in tribes and we were made to be like we're part of it. We're not separate from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so true. Like for sure in nature, I do think that. I think exactly. We do this thing where we're like, yeah, I'm going to go visit nature. Yeah, I'm going to go out for a walk or whatever. But but that also is like when you live in community, it can be a pain sometimes. Like people come and buy all the time or whatever. You don't always have you have to have good boundaries.
Right.
You have to learn how to hone your boundaries. I need some space. I'm going to write in my journal right now, or I'm going to go eat by myself or whatever. But that connection is like support, and it's, sharing ideas, and it's sharing life stories. And I used to say, God, I haven't thought of this in a long time. I used to say, I know I'll never be able to do everything. This was my mindset as a 20 your age. I would say, I want to do everything in life, but I know I can't do everything in life. So I'm going to share stories. I'm going to connect with people and share stories, and that'll get me a little closer to everything. I'm not going to be able to visit every country. I'm not going to be able to, but if I have my stories and then I swap stories with people, it gets me a little closer to that. I really want to experience everything. And that was what I tried. I did that. That was my big thing for a long time. Tell me, tell me about your life. It's what you're doing right here with the podcast. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your experiences, and let's share that. And through that, we gain wisdom. And with wisdom, we become stronger and more empowered and richer, much
Yeah,
richer. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big reason why I wanted to start a podcast because I feel that like there's so much power in storytelling, and it just you can build such a good connection and yeah, gain wisdom and yeah, get it. I love how you said get a little closer to experiencing everything.
Yeah.
It's a really good
Yeah.
way of putting it. So
Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
I noticed
Yeah.
when you were talking about your family, you said your family of origin, and then you
Mm.
also were talking about Eric, your brother. So I'm curious, what does family mean to you now?
Yeah, family. I've got like the best family ever. My family that I have, my little unit, my husband and our son. I feel like I have cultivated the ideal, and that is shared joy and connection, like support, where we ask each other, like, how was your day? Like, like genuine love and support. I didn't come from that. My family was very chaotic. My family of origin was very chaotic, toxic. It was basically your basic toxicity, like not basic. Sometimes it was pretty bad. So I craved that. I craved friendship. I wanted friendship. I wanted buddies. I wanted, like I still marvel at how connected you are to your siblings, your brothers. Like I love that. Like, and that I wanted that more than anything. And I couldn't have anything further, from the time we were young till still. Like we just are not connected. We don't connect. And sometimes it's contentious, and sometimes it's just no connection. So that's not what I want, right? Like that I learned from that. Sometimes you have experiences and you learn what to do, and sometimes you have experiences and learn what not to do. That was a what not to do, right? And then my brother Eric, the reason I call him my brother Eric is because when we were younger, we always have just been so tight. Like we are absolutely like siblings. But sometimes like his girlfriends would get it twisted, or people would kind of get it a little twisted, and we would be like, no, seriously, like we're like best friends, but it's not like that. So we ended up he's my brother and she's my sister.
Yeah.
So that's why the word brother Eric, but he is my family. Like he's loving and kind and checks in, and he wants for my success, and he wants for my happiness, and he wants for my joy, and he'll support that. And then of course Damien and my husband and Rowan, same. We want for that's what family is. You not just wish each other well. It's I see that you want something. I see that you're going after something. How can I either cheerlead you for it, like cheer you on, or how can I actually support you in that? How can I do something to help you there? And just caring. That's what family for me is, right? Like people who genuinely care, who will genuinely sit with you and hold space when you're grieving, when it's ugly, when it's beautiful, when you're triumphant, when you're in the trench where you don't have to question if you're too much or whatever. So that absolute joy for each other. Yeah,
Yeah.
connection with each other.
Really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so special that you've been able to cultivate that.
Yeah.
And you really
I
you
we
have
nailed it.
great people.
Yeah.
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 Love
Yeah,
hearing
we
that
totally
so
nailed
much.
it. Like
Yeah.
We did. We made it happen, and it's. I feel so blessed. It's like it's seriously, it's incredible. Yeah, I'm so blessed to have my family and my friends around me too. Like I feel like I have some incredible friends too.
Yeah, it's a good community all around.
Yeah.
I feel like Rowan is my brother. He's like my Eric. When they were traveling with me, I was always like, "Oh, my brothers," and they'd be like, "Oh, are they twins?" No.
Which is so funny because like, yeah, yeah. I mean, but they act like they have brother energy 100%,
They
and
do.
you guys too. Rowan considers you a sister. He definitely
In my
he said that
brothers.
for sure. Like it feels like that. Yeah, and that's such a. I love that so much. Like because we're not always born to our family. Sometimes we're more born to our family than others. Like you were born to your family. Your family is very supportive and connection. And sometimes we sort of have to make our people, have our
Yeah.
cultivator people. Yeah.
But I feel like even my family, maybe I mean, I guess we've always been quite connected, but I think when I was younger, we didn't get along very well. And especially my brothers, they didn't really even like each other at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the experiences, we've been through some tough experiences together. And I feel like experiences like that can either kind of pull you away from each other or bring you together. And yeah, I feel like they were, I don't know, like losing Gracie and leaving the Mormon religion and moving to Puerto Rico are all experiences that really bonded us together. So I feel
Yeah.
like in my family, we have that really close connection. We're very connected, but I think it's almost something that was kind of cultivated over time. Are really like, yeah, like with my brothers, I'm so close with them,
Yeah.
really tight.
Yeah.
I think it's something that came with, I mean, we've always loved each other, but something that kind of came with time, that really intense bond.
Yeah, I think I totally understand that. I think that that's true, that cultivation. And I think there has to be like the certain circumstances that help that. And with me and my brothers, I think we were the family, the parent dynamic. My father was a really toxic person, and so he kind of intentionally created wedges that never were able to be removed. And then once you kind of like move on with life and you just know that these people I can't really rely on them to have my best interests, or I don't really feel so strongly about, sharing with them or whatever. You seek out the next people, or you find the next people, and then you have that. So, but yeah, I get that. I think that it's important, even if you're born to the family and you have the right ingredients, you still have to cultivate it. I think there's still a lot of importance in the intention of being siblings or being family. I think that's why Damien and me and Rowan are so close. We are intentional about how we do, like it's important to us to really like to support or to, I mean, whatever it is, it's very intentional. And we like each other. We like each other. And that helps.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
huge.
We're aligned, right? Like our values are similar, same. And yeah, there's a lot of alignment. So yeah, it does. It's huge to like your family. Yeah.
What what's something that has maybe surprised you about the way your life has unfolded? I feel like you've had such a journey. Your whole life has been this incredible journey.
It really has. It really has. Like coming from South Georgia. Yeah, there's been several very direct turns where like we got off the road. We took care of my mother who was sick for 3 years. And then we moved to Washington State and had a whole life there, built businesses there, raised up Rowan until he was 12, just about 13 there, held the whole community, and then moved here. So your question, like I think I never thought I would ever live on a tropical island. That wasn't really in my playbook. It was in Damien's. After some of the experiences that we had in the States, we had moved to the South to take care of my mother, and it was a hard time. Not only the taking care of the mother part, the sick mom who's dying, but also being in the South is really challenging just in general. A lot of the South parts. And so it was almost like when we were in Washington, that was like really, it cultivated a lot of good stuff for me and was fine for Damien, but not like it wasn't his place. So coming here was almost like, I was happy to come to a tropical island, but it was almost like his place where he could cultivate his good stuff. So it wasn't really in my playbook, but now I can't imagine being anywhere else. Like I can't, unless it's another tropical island. Like I can't imagine living anywhere else. How did I not live with sand and ocean and sun all the time and palm trees? Yeah, yeah. And I mean everything that I've done here, like my shop, being a jeweler, being a henna artist, that all has been a thread in my life. The creativity, the owning. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've made businesses pretty much my entire life. If I wanted a job, I would just go make a job kind of thing. I mean, it's not that easy when I say it like that. It's not that easy, but at the same time, it is. I haven't worked for that many people in my life. Yeah. So what we've done here, that thread has always sort of been throughout, but the being here. I never thought I'd be a diver. I was scared of the water.
Yeah.
Still am, actually, and I do it scared. But like I dive all over the world now. We're going to Egypt in October, and like it's
Yeah,
amazing.
amazing.
That's one that I never saw myself doing ever, and now I love it. I love it. But I also sometimes I get freaked out
Yeah,
sometimes.
of course. I remember the first time you went diving and you were like, I'm going diving for the first time. I don't know about it. And yeah, now look where you are.
Yeah, it was a lot. And Damien is the most patient, skilled. Yeah, he was such a good guide.
Yeah. If your life was like a teacher, do you feel like there's a lesson that it's been kind of teaching you over and over and over again, one that's been really current?
Oh, that is such a good question. I think don't settle is one of the biggest things my life reminds me to do or not to do. I think I grew up understanding that life is settling. And when I kind of broke away from that ethos, that mindset and started proving to myself that I don't have to settle because I still settled a lot. Every time I realize that I don't have to settle and I strive for a little bit something different that fulfills me in a more full way. Yeah, that it is. Don't settle. You don't have to settle. I don't have to settle. One of the things my mom, who's passed, said to me when I was early 20s, probably about your age actually. I was on the road, I was traveling, and she always thought like I should be an art teacher, right? Like she was like, do something solid. She was a teacher. So anyway, and I was doing the festivals and it was amazing. And she came and visited and she said, well, how long are you going to do this? When are you going to do like normal? And, and not in a bad, she was always supportive, but she was also kind of like in her head, a realist. And I was like, Mom, I'm going to do this as long as, like, I don't know, it's fun. And she kind of stopped. We were walking and she stopped and she said, Lelah, life is not fun. Right, the lip sadness. I was like, that is maybe the saddest thing I think I've ever, like, my heart broke for my mom. And she had had a hard life and she had a hard marriage. And like, I understood where that came from, but it was not my reality. It hasn't been my reality, at all.
Yeah.
My entire life, like my whole thing, Divine Play is my Instagram handle, like Leela means divine play. That's why it's my Instagram handle. Leela is the play of the gods, the Sanskrit. It's my great grandmother's name. It got given to me, but it literally means the cosmic play. I remember being like, dude, like, yeah, it is. Life is fun, Mom. It is actually. And one of the things I tell people the most, like when they leave this shop or if I'm working in the dive shop and they leave the dive shop, is I say, have fun. It's like my biggest, like,
Yeah.
send people off. Have fun out there. And yeah, like that kind of settling, that like deep settling. Life isn't fun. Like, are you kidding?
Yeah. Why are
You
we
know?
feeling in lives that don't make us happy?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think she understood that life was happy, but she didn't I don't think she understood that life could be silly or life could be playful or you don't have to outgrow play. At some point I was supposed to outgrow play. I was supposed to outgrow that thing that's whimsy, you know? And I
Yeah,
still haven't. Like I have a huge drum circle and I play my ass off and I have a lot of fun. I laugh a lot. I have a lot of fun. Yeah.
really admire that about you. And also,
Yeah.
you don't seem to be living on anyone else's timeline, you know,
Right.
which is a big thing, I think. Something that I've had a hard time with, not as much now, but that I've realized through travel is there's like this timeline you're supposed to follow, and I always was like, "Oh, I'm so behind because I've spent so much time traveling and all these things," you know?
Yeah.
But I'm not. Like, who decided there's a timeline I have to follow?
Right. Arbitrary deadlines. Be aware of them, right? Like arbitrary lines that you give because yeah, the thing is, it's like back in my day, we had the thing question authority, right? Like, and that's true. You should question authority and also question the narrative. Question if you've been told something your whole life. Maybe it works for you. Maybe it's something that you're aligned with, but at least check it out. At least question it. Whatever it is, whether it's a philosophy or religion or whether it's how you're supposed to live or what kind of money you're supposed to make or everybody wants to be comfortable, everybody wants to be able to afford things, but and those are sort of big topics, but yeah, questioning the narrative that you're told, so timelines, exactly, or you're supposed to be doing this now, when are you going to settle down, I cannot tell you how many people I had to just either argue with, like, or not argue, but like have a rebuttal for, or just have to sit and grin and bear it and be like, okay, cool. And then do my own thing. And you know what's crazy? At 53, many of the people who tried to tell me I should have or I'm supposed to or whatever and try to diminish my choices, they look at me right now and they're like, you did great. Like you made the great choices. You did it right. I've had so many people who kind of didn't deviate from the path that we were given, and I did. And my life looks very different than theirs, and it's not a competition. I want everyone to feel happy and connected and joyful in their home and all of these things, right? But I've had so many people actually be like, God, you nailed it. You totally nailed it. You did good. You did great. I'm proud of you, kind of thing. Because I was a salmon. I went against the stream the whole time. People telling me you should do this and how, you can't do this. You can't do that. How can you can't how many people told me you can't do that? Don't take other people's no's. Don't take other people's no's. No, no. If somebody says no, you may decide no later, but don't decide no simply because someone else said no. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you just feel so proud of yourself looking back on your life and seeing where you are now?
I do. Honestly, I do. Yeah, I feel immense pride mainly because I did like kind of blaze a trail, or it's not like I've done something that nobody else has done, but I took the narrative that was given to me and I decided to on a completely different, like a different path altogether. And it worked out really well. Yeah. And mainly it's hard work, my relationship has been hard work. I've cultivated it and that takes energy. It's not like it's been hard work. It's a fairly easy relationship, but the energy, the efforts that I've put in to cultivate my life, I feel proud of. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I admire
Yeah.
you so much, which I tell you all the time, but I really do. Is there anything specific that you want to add on before we start wrapping it up?
I'm really proud of you. I do want to say this. Like I've known you since you were when did I meet you? You were maybe 16 tops.
And probably, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And just watching you bloom into this incredible woman like that just floats into the room with just such confidence and you're empowered and your wisdom. I am so glad that I get to share in your wisdom. Like you say every single time we have the opportunity to talk, I come away and I'm like, that's all. Like I want to write it down. I want to write words that you say down and make sure that I keep them. I feel blessed and that, yeah, I feel blessed. I feel so blessed to be able to share. I know that you call me a mentor but I also feel like you mentor me and I think that's important. I love that we have that together. I'm so grateful for our connection and our relationship. I'm so grateful to have you in my life and I hope we just keep getting to make it better and better and deeper. It's
Me
great.
too. I'm so grateful for it. And I feel like just so connected to you. And I feel the same. Like every time I talk to you, I just am like, whoa, like that. I don't know. I just feel like I get so much wisdom from you and sharing our stories and experiences. And it's just really special. So
Yeah.
thankful
Yeah.
for that. Yeah. And I want to say thank you to you for living your life in the way you have and for making the decisions that you have because not that you did it for anyone else, of course, but you living your life that way, in that way, has made a
Yeah.
huge impact on my life. And
Awesome.
having you in my sphere has made a huge impact on me in my life. So I'm
Yeah.
really grateful
I'm so glad.
for
I'm
that.
so glad. Yeah. Yeah. And you will it's the spark that we talk about, right? Like I spark you and you're gonna like it's such a beautiful light that we get to share and yeah, so yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing your wisdom on Wandering Wild too.
Thanks for having me on. I feel honored to be here and so grateful that we can take this time with you all the way on the other side of the world. It's nighttime here and you're just starting your day there. I think that's that's so cool. It's so cool. Yay. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Leila.